Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een wa ala kulli man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. My dear brothers, elders and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Last week I started the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, and is the greatest falsehood. If I could quickly just recap to the point where I left off so that I can finish the hadith in a wholesome way. So the Prophet said, first thing, beware of suspicion, for suspicion is the greatest falsehood. And I said briefly some things about suspicion, in the sense that the person who has this illness of being suspecting people all the time, this is an illness in his head, and only he could solve and try to get out by trying to avoid this disease and this illness. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, second thing, that do not try to find fault in one another. And I quickly just mentioned last week, especially this is a problem, especially in our Asian community, where we are searching and trying our best to find fault in other people, very little looking at the accomplishments and the good things in a person. And this is not a good thing. Prophet says in the third one, that do not spy on one another. Spying on one another. Listening to other people's conversation. Looking out for what a person is doing so that you could talk about this, backbite, and so on. And then the fourth one, the Prophet says, do not compete with one another, i.e. in the dunya. I.e. do not compete with one another in the dunya. And when a person does this, the result and the consequence of that is nothing than catastrophe for a person's moral and spiritual state. Because it results in nothing other than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says exactly about competing. Alhaakum at-takathur. That the takathur here means the accumulation of things as much as you can has distracted you. It will distract you, and it will continue to distract you hatta zurtumul maqabir, until you enter your grave. There's no ending. There's no ending to it. So when you compete and vie with one another in the dunya, then there's no ending to it. And a person chooses, I never said the last week, but a person chooses. People choose as an individual, and nations choose as a nation what they want to compete with and what they want to be known as. Some nations in the past were known for their physical fitness, like the Greeks and the Spartans. They were known for their physical fitness, hence the Olympics came from them. They were known for their endurance and strength and their asceticism and their muscles and so on, and their sports. That's why you have the Olympics stemming from this. There were others known for their literature and their education. The Arabs were known in the time of the Prophet before this for poetry. So nations compete with one another. And nowadays nations compete with one another with weapons. Who has the most powerful weapons and whoever has the most rules. And then individuals compete with one another. And we choose to compete with what we want in this life. And that's what we will be known by on Yawm al-Qiyamah. We can compete with one another with wealth, with our families, children, our prestige, honor, our career. We can compete with that. Or we can choose to compete in something far more everlasting, like the ulama and the scholars and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum decided to compete. The likes of Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and so on, others who look up to those who would be more closer to them, closer than them to the Prophet through their actions and to their amals, through their deeds. And they would investigate as to what it is that this person does, or why the Prophet said about this person such and such a thing, because they want to have the same status. And that is something that we should try to putting ourselves, competing in the right things. The Prophet says in the fifth thing, don't envy one another, don't be jealous. It hurts no one other than yourself. And number 6, don't be angry. That's the point I reached to. Don't be angry. And I mentioned quickly that anger is an emotion, just like any other emotion that Allah has instilled upon us, to use it in a meaningful and channel it in the right way. That doesn't mean that the Prophet said don't be angry, but angry in the right time, in the right way, in the right manner, not allowing that anger to make us do something that we will regret later. Just today I heard someone say that a person did something in an emotional state, obviously in anger most of the time. In 10 seconds, this person was in prison, and he was saying this to other people. And he was saying, I made a decision to do something in 10 seconds. And that 10 seconds made me give 22 years of my life in prison. 10 seconds, he made that decision, quickly, 10 seconds. And he didn't think with his mind, he let his emotions take control of him. That's why there's a saying in Arabic, al-ghadab, or anger, is from madness. It is also part of intoxication. Just like a person is drunk, he doesn't know what he's doing. And a person gets so angry in the moment, makes his decision to leave his job. Don't ever make that decision, because that's going to hurt bad. Calm down. Don't make that decision when you're with your spouse to separate. Walk away and cool down. The differentiation between us human beings and animals is that intellect. That we can think, unlike the animals, we can think more than them. But when we cloud that intellect with our emotions, we cannot no longer think. And when by the time when we do come to thinking again, it overcomes us with nadam, with regret for what we have done in those few seconds. That's why we need to take time to go make decisions. We need to teach this to our children, never to make that decision, especially when they're young, because that's when they're hormones, and that's when they are extremely angry, just over a look. Sometimes you don't even know what you're looking at. What you look at me like that for? And they don't even know where the anger is coming from. They don't know. But if they thought about it, maybe it's because something happened before, and then you take the anger out of someone else. But that results in a fight, that results in some stabbing, that results in someone dying and someone going to prison. Anger. So the Prophet said, do not turn away from one another. Don't turn away from someone over a little petty thing. The Prophet said, a believer should not turn away from another about more than 3 days. No salam, no kalam, nothing. That doesn't mean you have to knock at someone's door every time and say, I haven't spoken in 3 days, let me make up for it. No, if a believer comes and gives salam to you, you should not turn away. He has done salam to you. You have no right to do a scanning from top to bottom. You are not an X-ray machine of Tawheed to see what he believes or not. He faces the Qibla. He says Allah is his Lord. He says Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his last messenger. He doesn't even have to say any of those things. He done salam to you. There's no reason for you to suspect it. Oh, he's not a Muslim. You do salam, you don't turn away. You do not turn away. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'm just making it brief because I want to reach the end today. The Prophet says, this is related. Be slaves of Allah and be brothers to one another. The Prophet sallallahu saying, be slaves of Allah, i.e. be humble. If you realize you are the slave of Allah, you will be humble. You'll never think you are better than someone else. That I am the better Muslim. I am the whatever you're competing one another. It's a natural state that whatever profession you are in, you end up thinking that you want to be better than someone. But when you remind yourself that you are the slave of Allah, and in the end result for you is you're going into the mud, then you will be more humble. Minha khalaqnakum. We have created you. Minha khalaqnakum, i.e. from this dust of the earth. وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ, and you will return to it. وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى, and you will be raised again on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Then you shall see who is better than one another. If you want to know who really is better than one another, don't worry. You will find out on Yawm al-Qiyamah. But right now, you cannot guarantee anything that you are better than someone else. Regardless of what your position and status may be in this dunya in the eyes of the people. The people will be biased. People will be biased. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most just. So be slaves of one another and brothers. Be brothers to one another. And the Prophet says, a Muslim is a brother of a Muslim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Hujurat, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Only the believers are brothers. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. So reconciliation, make reconciliation between you if there is some kind of enmity. The Prophet ﷺ says, he does no dhulm. A believer does no dhulm, no oppression. He doesn't hurt someone. You want to know what a Muslim is? Don't hurt someone. Don't hurt someone through your speech. Don't hurt someone through your hands. Don't hurt them in any way whatsoever. You'd rather someone comes to you, you'd rather on Yawm al-Qiyamah that people owe you than you owe people. I've said that many times. Let people owe you. Be the one who's forgiving, but don't anticipate forgiveness from people. Because you can't control that one. If you hurt someone, there's no way you can force that person to forgive you, depending on how badly you hurt that person. So try your best not to hurt anyone. But if they hurt you, you're on the upper hand on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Now it's up to you to forgive or not. If you forgive, you'll get that reward. If you don't forgive, you'll get his reward. So don't hurt anyone in any way whatsoever possible. Anyway, and then Prophet says, he doesn't let him down. A believer doesn't let another believer down. He needs help, help him. The least is, don't leave him stranded. Help him in any way you can. The Prophet ﷺ says, a believer does not despise, does not hate another believer. Simple things. You know all of these things. You all know, and I know all of this. And the Prophet is saying this, so it makes it a bit more powerful. This is the Prophet saying that do not hate one another. And immediately he says, fear of Allah is here, fear of Allah is here, fear of Allah is here. And he says it 3 times, pointing his chest. And then he says, it is even enough that a Muslim should look down on his brother, for every Muslim is sacred to one another. His blood, his honor, and his property, all of that is sacred. Do not hurt any of these things. Allah does not look at your forms, your bodies, but Allah looks at your heart. And none of us can know the condition of each of our hearts. None of us. We only know the condition of our own hearts. When we look in the mirror, we know who we really are. That's why every time, we have to take account of ourselves. And we should never look down on anyone, regardless of where he's from, which country he's from, which caste he's from, which tribe he's from. If Allah has blessed you from a high lineage and a high tribe, you didn't earn it, you just happened to be born in it. That doesn't give you the right, or me the right, to look down on someone lower than that person. No one's saying that, you have to go to that person and you have to, embrace that person and you have to marry your daughter or your son to that. No, go ahead. Keep to your own, but do not look down upon that person, that this person is lower than you. Because everyone is equal in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only thing Allah will judge you on Yawm al-Qiyamah is through your taqwa. The most honored of people on the Day of Judgment will be inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Indeed, the most honored will be those who are the most God-fearing. Atqakum, the most God-fearing. So that's very important for us to realize. In certain countries, especially in our Indian subcontinent, they have this issue of caste system. We have the Ashraf and the Ajdar and the Arzal. We have different groups. And dare I say that there are even learned people who propagate this, that say, oh, these are different people, we cannot mix and mingle with these people. These people can't come to our masjid because they are the lower caste. These people who have the authority and do this will share the higher burden and responsibility of that sin on Yawm al-Qiyamah and those who follow them. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made us equal. And only people who will be closer to Allah are the most God-fearing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me and all of us the tawfiq to act upon what has been said and embrace the teaching of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I end with a request. One of the brothers had mentioned to make dua for his nephew. He's in very critical condition. I believe his name is Asim Akhtar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him shifa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for him. And all those brothers and sisters who are difficult times, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them sabrun jameel. Amen.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله للفضل والإحسان والكرم والامتنان. اصطفى نبينا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم على جميع بني الإنسان وأدبه فأحسن تأديبه فكان خلق القرآن. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له بالألوهية والربوبية والأسماء والصفات الحسان. وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله المبعوث بمكارم الأخلاق وأتم الأديان، صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه والذين تبعوهم بإحسان وسلم تسليما. أما بعد، أيها الناس، اتقوا الله تعالى وأعرفوا أخلاق نبيكم المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم، فكان أكمل الناس خلقا في جميع محاسن الأخلاق. وكان حياة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مليئة بالشواهد على خلق النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كلها تنطق بخلقه. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى كل من تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال: قبل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الحسن بن علي وعنده الأقرع بن حابس التميمي جالسا، فقال الأقرع: إن لي 10 من الولد ما قبلت منهم أحدا. فنظر إليه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم قال: من لا يرحم لا يرحم. قال الله تعالى: وإنك لعلى خلق عظيم. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم، ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. سووا صفوفكم يرحمكم الله. Straighten your lines please and put your heels on the first line.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا اعتدلوا. الله أكبر. سبحانك. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون. فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.